Welcome everyone, I'm the Depressed Eeyore and this is Dark Souls 3. Sorry for the lack of intro, I went ahead and just scrapped some of my recordings and tried to re-record this. So yeah, this is Dark Souls 3 on PC on Steam. I wasn't planning on doing a Let's Play so early of this, but I've been having a lot of issues recording some of the other games I wanted to record. Indie games, even though I generally enjoy them, sometimes they do not get along well with any of my recording software for some reason. And Dark Souls 3 kind of had some issues with my usual software, but I switched back to Fraps, and it seems to be working really, really well. So I'm going to go ahead and try this out, and this will be kind of a test run of using Fraps again. Which will be nice, I guess, if it works out. But as for what this first video is, it's going to be kind of just an intro of kind of similar to what I did for Dark Souls 2. Just like in Dark Souls 2, I'll be doing a full playthrough. I will try to get as many of the hidden things as possible, but I will not do 100%. If I miss something, I miss something. That's pretty much it. I will not do New Game Plus. There's not really anything important in New Game Plus besides a few additional boss items and upgraded rings. That's really pretty much it. It's not like Dark Souls 2 where they actually change like monster layouts and stuff like that. So, I'm going to go ahead and do a new game. I'm going to skip the intro because I'm just going to go ahead and just quickly show off the character creation here. Just like before, with Dark Souls 2, I will let you guys decide what I start with and decide my build. More or less, it just makes it a little bit more interesting on my part because I get to play something that maybe I never considered playing as. I've played a small variety of builds so far. I haven't beaten this game yet, but I've made a few characters and messed around a bit, so I'm familiar with majority of the playstyles, with the exception of the ones I usually don't do, but that's really not my decision anymore. So really, the only thing I need you guys to suggest is possibly a name. I may name the character myself, I haven't decided yet, but a name, a class. There are, looks like 10 classes. I'll just quickly, briefly go over them. I'll just give a brief summary. The knight is kind of the knight starts you out in pretty much medium slash heavy armor, I guess. You start with a 100% block shield and a longsword. As for your stats, you're generally balanced between strength and dexterity, and you're pretty much a decent melee tanky character. The mercenary, you can use a twin scimitar. You start with twin scimitars and you have a shield if you prefer a shield. And stat-wise, you start out with higher dexterity. So while the knight's more balanced between strength and dexterity, mercenary is a melee character that favors more dexterity. Warrior is a melee character that favors more strength and starts with a battle axe. The herald starts with a spear and actually starts with a charm that starts with the very, very basic what's it called? Heal aid spell, which is the weakest of the heal spells. But it's a martially armored melee character that starts with a heal spell, which is not something you see too often. The thief starts with a dagger and has a bow. It's the only character that starts with a bow and 20 arrows. Assassin, it's kind of a hybrid between a thief and a sorcerer. You have a rapier and a buckler, and you start with a wand, or sorry, a staff. And I believe you start with the quiet spell. Or soft step or whatever it's called. I don't remember the name of the spell, but they start with one spell. It's not really. I believe it's a buff spell and not a actual combat spell. Sorcerer, caster, pretty straightforward. They do start with a caster ring that helps them cast things, and they start with 2 different offensive spells. I will go more into, I guess, stat specifics and all those details probably when I actually officially start the game. For now, even if you're not familiar with the game, feel free to just go with your gut instincts. There's not really any wrong answers here. Pyromancer. Pretty standard. You start with pyromancies. You start with a ring that boosts your pyromancies, and you start with the fireball spell. Pyromancy has been changed a bit in Dark Souls 3, but I will go into that when we actually start the game, and I either start with pyromancies or I find pyromancies later. Cleric. Self-explanatory. You start with a mace, and you got the heal spell, and you have a I don't remember. I think it's called Force. The spell, what it does is you send out a wave of force outwards, and it knocks people away from you. And then there's the standard deprived, which starts with average stats everywhere, starts at level 1, starts with a club, starts with a plank of wood, and starts with a loincloth. And that is about it. Alright, so these are your choices for classes, and not only can you guys decide my class, you can go ahead and say my build, as far as like what I should be aiming for. So if you tell me to make a knight, you can still make me say, you can tell me to start as a knight and work towards casting. It doesn't really matter to me. It doesn't have to associate with the class. It doesn't really matter to me. But as for builds, you can tell me specific weapons you want me to use, or if you want me to go specific stat combinations, such as high strength, high dex, or a balanced build where it's both strength and dex, or you want me to do a hybrid between like melee and casting, or do a lot more focus on archery or something like that. Just feel free to give as much detail as possible. I mean, you don't have to give me a step-by-step, but generally try to give me an end goal, and if you have a preferred weapon you want me to use, you can name it, or if you have a preferred type of weapon, you can name that. There's a large variety of weapons, and you can really just look that up in the wiki if you want to know where what all the weapons are. There's like scythes and swords and bows and crossbows and etc. Alright, for the burial gifts are kind of like your starting item, much like in Dark Souls 2. You can start with nothing. The life ring, which gives you a % bonus of HP. I believe it's % bonus. So the more HP you have, the more benefit you would get from the life ring. It does let you start with a ring. Just like in Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3 has 4 ring slots, so you can use them how you please. Divine Blessing just gives me a consumable item that restores all HP and cures all status effects. Hidden Blessing is a consumable item that lets me restore my focus points back to full. Focus points are essentially your mana in this game. They kind of switched back to a mana system, much like in Demon Souls. Black Firebomb is just a really powerful firebomb. Fire Gem is a infusion item that allows you to infuse your weapon with fire. Not too shabby. The only catch about the Fire Gem is it infuses your weapon with fire damage, but it removes all scaling from that weapon. So it could be a good early game buff if you just want to get an early game fire weapon very early, and you don't want to worry about you don't want to worry about physical stats or anything like that. Sovereignless Soul pretty much gets you a expendable soul that gives you, I think, about 2,000 souls, which is enough for maybe 2 early game level ups. Rusted Gold Coin rather, gets you a usable item that will boost your item discovery for a short while. It's just a consumable. Crocked Out Red Eye Orb gets you a consumable item that lets you do a PvP run. And then the Young White Branch gets you a small branch that can make you transform into an environmental object, so it's like a chameleon spell. It also has a secondary effect if you have this in your inventory, which I will explain later if you guys decide to pick it. Most of you who are familiar with the game probably know what the benefit is. Alright, so that pretty much sums everything up. I'll go probably more into detail about what I think about Dark Souls 3 and all that fun stuff when I actually start this playthrough. This playthrough shouldn't be as long as the Dark Souls 2 one. The game is actually much shorter than Dark Souls 2. Also, I generally know the layout for majority of the areas, and there's also not very many branching options as far as where you can go. So I'll go more into that when we actually start the game. So, just to summarize, you can include a name if you want, but I may not go for it. You can tell me a class and a build to go for, and you can tell me a burial gift. So just put that in the comments below, and I will probably just pick randomly and go with whatever. If there's a lot of consensus towards one specific type of build / class and all that stuff, I may just take it based off voting. Anyway, I am The Depressed Eeyore, and this was Dark Souls 3, and I look forward to hearing more from you guys. See ya.